What's up, foodie fam, and welcome back to What the Fuck, aka What the Fuck Am I Supposed to Do with That? This is a foodie podcast, a podcast all about taking random shit in your house and figuring out what the fuck you can do with that. I like to think about it as making elevated meals out of basic shit you can already find, wherever else, and shit that won't break the bank, by the way. This week, we're going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart that I started out with many years ago and that a lot of people probably have done as well. And that is meal prepping. Yeah, big dramatic fucking build up for nothing, right? Anyway, that's what we're going to be talking about this week is meal prepping. So let's dive into it. Meal prepping. Let's start with what is meal prepping. Basically, if you aren't familiar with food shit, if you're not familiar with the foodie world, or if you haven't even just looked at Instagram, because this shit has been all over Instagram for years. Meal prepping is basically getting all your shit ready for the week. A lot of people, especially when we used to be able to leave the house, don't you miss that shit? Don't you miss that shit? I miss that shit. But when we used to leave the house, a lot of people who had busy lives and jobs and kids and dogs and shit to take care of, we basically meal prep to get our shit ready for lunch, for the week. Number one, it saved us a lot of money and time throughout the week because a lot of people, if you're like me, a lot of you probably, don't like wasting a lot of time trying to prep this shit, cook every day or, like I said, you have kids and dogs and friends and families and boyfriends and girlfriends and shit to do. So essentially you don't have time. And this became a huge thing. This became an amazing kind of trend as if it wasn't like already been happening. Like literally, do you not remember leftovers? The shit that we would eat that shit because our mom made it. It's in the fridge. We eat that shit throughout the week, whatever was left over. This is essentially it, except you're prepping it ahead of time. You're creating your meal and planning it out. There's forethought, and this can actually be a pretty great thing. But it is super simple and super easy to do. But I wanted to talk about meal prepping specifically because we're about to head into those holiday months. We're in the holiday month season now, but we're about to head into those holiday meals with family and friends where we basically are going to be just having a shit ton of food that we can take with us wherever we want to go. And, just basically, to continue to eat on and on. So I wanted to talk about the meal prepping situation because one, hopefully this will give you some ideas to actually like go ahead and, think about like, hey, I can repurpose some of this food that I'm going to have for this. But also, hey, I can actually, think about how I want to get prepared for this leading up to it. If you're like me, you probably have a grandma or an aunt or a mom. My mom does specifically that starts cooking. Like at least 32 hours or some shit like that. 24 to 72 hours before the holiday to get stuff ready. Think of it like that. Think of meal prepping in the sense of like, on Sunday, I'm going to bang this shit out. I'm going to get all my little fancy little boxes from Amazon for $10 that look like they came from the restaurant. And then I'm going to lay out all my shit and then I'm going to post a pic on the gram to see how like I'm doing responsible things with my life. That's essentially what meal prepping is. But segueing from there, I do want to talk about why it's so popular. So now that we talked about meal prepping itself and kind of got an idea of what it is, let's talk about why it is literally so popular. So for me, I think I saw the popularity rise when it was, it was a gym thing. So if you're out there and you're listening and you work out too, like I usually work out 5 or 6 days a week, but if you're listening and you work out too, there was this like surge of people trying to like really promote their meal prep kits and talk about how they only eat, brown rice and broccoli and, chicken, and it sustains them so that they don't have to worry about cooking after the gym and gains and fitness goals and fit fam and all that shit. I saw that start to rise on Instagram maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little sooner, but it was a couple years ago. But I didn't think anything wrong of it. I think it was a smart idea. I joined the bandwagon. I didn't post my meal prep shit, but occasionally I don't want to be lying on fucking recording. But I didn't really dive into the whole fanaticism of it. I guess I think that's a word. Fanaticism Didn't really get that far, but I saw the potential of it, especially when I was working a day job or am working a day job, and I have to go to work, and depending on what city you're in, lunch can be fucking ridiculously expensive. So meal prepping helped me save a lot of money, and I think that was another appeal as well. So let's talk about the two-prong approach there, which was one, it became popular because it was an easy way to sustain yourself and provide sustenance for those who were super healthy and super into fitness and things like that. Specifically because you can make it ahead, heat it up, and eat it when you needed your protein or carbs or whatever it was. And then it also had a little green approach to it, in the sense that you didn't really have to worry about who made it, what chemicals were in it, because you did it yourself. And then two, it's super cheap. I mean, I can literally buy in bulk from Costco and then make a 2 weeks worth of meal prep. Maybe not that far out, but make quite a bit. Like $20 could make me lunch for the entire week if I do meal prepping. So there's easy way. Those are the reasons why I think it's been popular in the past, and why I think that even though people aren't pushing it in your face right now, I think it'll still always be popular. Now, moving on from the popularity of it, let's talk about services, because there's a lot of different ways that this branched out. It wasn't just people, or at least what I witnessed, it wasn't people, or there aren't just people who are, fitness experts, or just people who are just trying to save a buck. There's services that did it. I think one is called Trifecta, another one like Green Chef. They specifically, talk to people about, say, hey, you don't like to cook? That's not what we're about here, but you don't like to cook. So hey, why don't you pay like $30 or $50 or $80? I don't know how much it is. I'm just making it up. And why don't you pay this certain amount of dollars, and then we'll just do that shit for you. And I think that's super appealing as well too, to a lot of people who do want to eat healthy and know where their food is coming from, but don't have the time to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. Let me just be clear. This podcast though, it's all about you learning to cook, about the things you can do with your food. I think that cooking is creative and it's fun, and though it can seem scary when you don't know what you're doing, it is still a great way for you to connect with yourself and know how you feel about certain things, to play around with flavors, develop a strong palate, and mold that into your life. There's so many advantages for you learning to cook, even just the basic shit, or knowing what the basic shit is. And again, that's what this podcast is about. So I'm not shitting on the meal prep services or any other service, but I think you get more value in life when you actually do it yourself. That said, back to the services. So nothing wrong with those guys, but I do want to differentiate or call out there's different variations of services. So you have like the Green Chefs and the Trifectas, which I believe do the specific meal prepping for you. Then you have the stuff like the Blue Apron, the services like those guys. Blue Apron is a little bit more like Freshly, where they actually send you specific portions so that you can cook a meal for yourself, which I love. But you cook this meal and it's already proportioned out. The recipes, the steps are there and whatnot. So I get it, but I think that, again, going back to what I said, I think you're gonna get a lot more value when you can just go to the grocery store, understand how to pick up a tomato and be able to figure out what the fuck you can do with that. And again, that's what we're here for. And if you're looking for recipes, I'll do a shameless plug right now. Check out my website, www, we all know that, ginroecooks.com, GINROECOOKS.com. And there's a blog section called Read Me. Read Me will give you recipes for a lot of the things that I cook, step-by-step instructions, all the stuff you need. It's super easy, super simple. If it's never not simple and easy, leave me a comment and let me know. I will change that shit up because I never want this to get complicated. And then if you're just looking for some inspiration, check out the Eat Me section. It's literally food porn. Nothing but nasty, sexy food porn. All the steaks and the pork chops and the green juices and the salads, all the shit that I eat is going to be up there, and I think you'll eat it too. That said, we're going to move on. We're going to segue away from just the services and talk about the value of meal prepping, and then also literally what it's like doing that during the time of Corona. So I'll start with the latter. During Corona, I did a shit ton of cooking. I've been doing a shit ton of cooking. Actually, this podcast came out of being stuck in the house and wanting to express more of myself, because I like to talk sometimes, especially when I got a nice drink. Hear the ice rolling around in my glass. If you can't, I'm drinking a cocktail right now. But during Rona, I literally spent more time at the house, at the grocery store, than I did anywhere else during this entire time, during the last 7 months. I've literally been at the grocery store so much, and I may have mentioned this in the earlier episode, that the guys know me by like first name. They don't make me check my bag. You know, I live in the hood, so they want you to make sure people ain't stealing. They don't make me check my bag and shit. I go in, you know, I get the staples that I need, and it's usually a daily thing. And it started out essentially as, you know what, let me get out the house and go and get a couple things when we needed things. And that was typically when we ran out of shit. But then it became a situation where let me go because I want specific things, and then I want to try new things. And how that all relates back to meal prepping was I was doing a lot of cooking. I cook every day, and I've been cooking 3 square meals a day. So I went from, cooking 1 square meal a day, so that's dinner when I got home from work and stuff like that, to now cooking 3 meals a day. So there was a lot of shit that I was doing often. I was prepping a lot of stuff, and it can be tiring. And so there comes some points where I want to prep certain meals because they're easier to get through and stuff like that. So for me, breakfast is probably it. I like this one thing. Oh shit, this is reminding me of something I used to love. So I had a friend who worked at a company that got free food back in Seattle, right? And so that friend would bring me free food. Bring all of us free food, quite honestly, from their kitchen that they were going to get rid of or something like that. So there was this protein bowl that I am obsessed with, and it's so simple. Obsessed with this simple ass bowl that I used to get until I really started to recreate it. That's how my breakfasts are meal prepped most of the time. But it's basically just quinoa, and I like garlic quinoa. I love garlic, so it was like a little garlicky flavor or something like that. But it's quinoa, and it's boiled eggs, and bacon, some green onion, some salt and pepper, and that's it. That's it. And I swear to God, it is so filling. It is so good and so tasty that I would eat like multiple of them because they were in these little small packs. Like I'm skinny. I'm slim thick, but I ain't skinny. I want food. So what I'll do now is I'll just take, you know, that Sunday or Monday or whatever it is I'm feeling it, grab a pack of bacon, grab my 12 pack of eggs, and then cook all that shit up, and I'll have it for the week. The good thing about that is still maintaining a day job where I'm actually have to do shit at 9 a.m. in the morning. I can pop that shit in the microwave, and then I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have to make any extra steps, or it takes maybe 15, 20 minutes, because breakfast is not easy. I mean, not difficult, but that's an extra 15, 20 minutes I can put towards something else. So that's what I see in the value of meal prepping. I think it's time. And on some philosophical shit, time is money, time is power, time is all we have, truly. And I think that the more of that time that we can use efficiently, especially in the kitchen, the better. And that's where meal prepping comes in. So I'm for meal prepping, quite honestly. Like, you know, I prefer to, if I'm doing dinner, I prefer right then and there. But I enjoy meal prepping, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. All right, so we talked about meal prepping extensively. I want to move on to another topic, but one last thing I'll say about meal prepping, and you know what, I'll save it for the recipe of the day. That'll be the last thing that we talk about today. But back to the next topic. The what the fuck am I obsessed with this week? You guys have heard it before. I love certain shit. I hope you start to tell me about the shit that you love. Leave me comments on my website, on the What the Fuck Podcast Instagram. Shoot me an email at ginroecooks@gmail.com. Let me know what you're obsessed with. But what the fuck I'm obsessed with this week is Truffle Hot Sauce. Yes, Truffle Hot Sauce. That may sound completely ridiculous to some of you, but I fucking love this shit. So there's 2 things about me that you should know. One, I love truffles. 2, I love hot sauce. Well, I love hot, spicy food. So truffles are it's earthy. If you don't know what truffles are, so truffles are a very expensive mushroom. I mean, super, super expensive. I think back in the day, they used to use pigs to find them because they were difficult to find. And then now they use dogs in different ways. And I'm not sure if that's up to date. But they're ridiculously expensive. And there's black truffles, white truffles. And then you can put them into a varying, like different condiments that you use. So truffle salt is how I was introduced to truffles. Someone put it on, actually it was when I was working at the chopping block, a cooking school back in Chicago. There was some popcorn that we would sit out in front of one of the like stores to entice people to come in. And the popcorn had truffle butter and truffle salt on it. When I tell you that shit was so amazing, I was so confused. And I had to be like all of like, I want to say maybe 23, 24 when I discovered this. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? This is delicious. And I found out it was truffles. And ever since then, whenever I can use it appropriately, I will use truffle salt in whatever, specifically pasta. I think it brings out some of that richness that we love about Italian food. But that said, over to the hot sauce side. Yeah. I'm a black person. I fucking love hot sauce. Not to say that every black person loves it, but I enjoy spicy food. And that's not just soul food. I love Cajun food specifically. And I think we talked about that with the cayenne one a couple episodes back. But I love the, like different like Thai food. I love some chili flakes or a red chili sauce or something like that in Indian food. So I love spicy food in general. So for me, this earthiness meets spiciness is perfect in this truffle hot sauce. Let me see if I can grab this specific brand for you. Yes, people, some of this shit is real time. I just went to my fridge to grab the brand for you. This is hotter sauce. It's called Truff, Truff. It's black truffle infused hot sauce. This shit was expensive though. I went into a grocery store, I saw it, I was like, let me get it. And then I was fortunate enough to just be like, I'm just gonna pay for it. But it was $20. And if you don't want to spend $20 on a hot sauce bottle and it's only like 6 ounces, then don't. You can make that shit up. But like I said, truffles are expensive. The truffle salt I get is usually about, I want to say maybe $11 for this small ass bottle of salt, whereas you can get, like sea salt for $2-3 now. But I recommend trying it. I think it's super dope. I think it has, like I said, that earthy, spicy flavor. The last thing I used it in was actually chili. I had some leftover chili that I made the other day, and for whatever reason, it didn't have the same kick as the day before. And it's probably because it could have been, leftovers, but I ate it for lunch the next day. Hashtag meal prep. But I ate it for lunch the next day, and I just wanted another like level of flavor. So I grabbed this bad boy out the fridge, dumped a couple spoonfuls in there. Boom. It was like a whole new fucking bowl of chili. It was amazing. So I definitely recommend Truff hotter sauce. It's amazing. All right, we're almost at the end, guys. And what we're gonna do now is the second to last topic, which is what the fuck featured item of the day. So this, I'm just gonna go over to the fridge right now, real time, again, and I'm gonna grab something random and I'm gonna talk about that. The first thing I grabbed was Bailey's. That's what was in my fridge, guys. So I didn't buy this. Actually, Babe bought this because he loves Bailey's. And we got it for the coffee. Now, I think I was obsessed with coffee on the episode actually, that's coming up soon. There's going to be an episode where we're talking about my obsession with coffee for the week. But Bailey's, I do genuinely enjoy. I think it's nice and sweet. It's great for those of us who are functioning alcoholics and want to have a drink in the morning on a Saturday when you ain't got shit to do, or you just want to have a little extra pep in your step. But for those of you who are not familiar, Bailey's, the original Irish cream, is a liqueur kind of cream that people put into their coffees. And it's specifically like a creamer / alcohol. And I think it's like, I don't even know, it's like 17, oh shit, that's more than I thought. It's 17% alcohol volume. Beers, for reference, beers are usually only about 5%. But yeah, so it's Bailey's, a little dab in that, you get your coffee off to the right start. Fun fact or a little story about this is my first foray with Bailey's was actually in high school. I didn't know what it was, and I actually didn't drink until I was older, like around maybe 20. I think it was after 21, around 2021. But I knew some kids at high school that would actually, yeah, they would literally put Baileys in their coffees, and I had no idea. I was so oblivious. And I went to a high school in a suburb, and not like a white high school or something. Nothing wrong with white high schools, but it was actually a predominantly black high school, but a little hoity-toity, I guess you can say, in some aspects. And yeah, I remember going to school and a couple of my friends like, yeah, put some Baileys in my coffee, and wondering why they didn't give a fuck about French class, but now it makes sense. But yeah, that's a little fun fact about Baileys. All right, guys, we're wrapping it up. Thank you again for listening. Let's talk about the last piece of the day, which I promised a little earlier in this segment, which is going to be the recipe of the day. And we're going to talk about something you can do for meal prepping. For those of you out there who want to do meal prepping and take some interest in this, I mean, there's a shit ton of like fucking things you can do on Instagram. Just search meal prepping or shoot me an email again at ginroecooks@gmail.com. I'll send you some shit. I'll gladly send you guys recipes. And put some meal prepping shit up on my site if you want. But an easy way to do meal prepping, an affordable way to do meal prepping that doesn't, that's not boring, is the key, for me at least, is, there's a number of ways to do it, but I would go to the store, literally go to your grocery store, buy maybe a 4 or 5 pack of chicken thighs. If you don't like chicken thighs, chicken breasts work well. I personally like chicken thighs. They're cheaper. I think there's more flavor because the meat is a little bit darker and denser. But go ahead and get you whatever you want, some chicken thighs, or whether it's steak or whatever. But I'll start with chicken thighs. We're gonna get some brown rice. I know people don't like the taste of it, but it's pretty good for you. It's less sugar. I mean, if we're talking meal prepping and we want to be healthy, let's just go with the brown rice, right? So what I do though, I switch up my veggies. That's the first thing we do, can make this actually, palatable throughout the week. So maybe instead of just all broccoli, we'll do maybe one has broccoli, the other has like corn and beans, and then the other one has a little bit of the brown rice, but maybe some asparagus. And then maybe the last one has a tomato-based thing. So maybe like chopped tomatoes, cucumbers, like feta, and olives, make it a little bit Greek. And then those vegetables dictate the seasonings. So when I'm cooking the chicken thighs, I could pop all of them in the oven, but each of them have different seasonings. So the one that's gonna be for the Greek, we're using dill and salt and pepper and thyme and rosemary. For the one that has the beans and maybe even the tomatoes, we're looking at Cajun and also Spanish flavor. So maybe some cumin and paprika, things like that, some oregano, and then maybe just a general one, just like salt and pepper, garlic. That's pretty straightforward, and I think that's only 4, but we can make 5 and do another one that's a little bit more Italian infused and add in pasta. So basically, that's an easy way for you to start this out. Just mix up your vegetables, play around with ideas, play around with seasonings and flavors, and I think you'll have a great way to meal prep a great set of meal prep meals without being bored through the week. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for coming back. Come back next week as well. We're going to be talking about more dope-ass foodie shit, and I hope you enjoy this episode. You can check out the podcast wherever you stream, so YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, a couple other things, but most importantly on the HausHill network, so download the app. You can also, again, go to my website for any foodie kind of like news or recipes, which is ginroecooks.com, GINROECOOKS.com. And then you can also shoot me an email at ginroecooks@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
It's only entertainment.